As a passionate enthusiast of world-building, I found myself wishing I could share the same admiration for the Earth project that many others hold. Sure, its extensive evolutionary timeline, intricate narrative, and elaborate magic system are fascinating. However, I can't help but notice a plethora of glaring errors. That's right, I'm diving in head first. Today, I will thoroughly critique Earth's so-called realism. Let's start with the first issue, physics. At first glance, the physical laws of Earth appear relatively sound, especially when placed beside other creative works. Yet, if you examine it more closely, you'll definitely catch several serious flaws. For instance, consider the idea that a human can dip their hand into molten metal without burning themselves as long as they pull it out quickly. This is allegedly due to something called the Leidenfrost effect, which creates a shield of evaporating moisture around the cooler object. Sounds more like a flimsy excuse than solid logic to me. Furthermore, the discrepancies between relativistic physics and quantum mechanics, that's just embarrassing. I sincerely hope there were consequences for such a lapse in judgment. Magic systems often rectify such gaps, but reportedly, Earth lacks magic. Any mystical occurrences are simply clever tricks. All right, then explain this. If one's main mode of transport is a car, an automotive beast outfitted with mysterious components and requires the expertise of a specialized mechanic to operate, is that essentially a form of magic? And how about light, being both wave and particle? Pretty sure that qualifies as sorcery in my book. Earth's tendency to complicate straightforward concepts is especially evident in its elemental system. The classical elements, water, fire, air, and various earthly materials kept things elegant. These early models usually offered delightful balance and a nice dynamic akin to rock-paper, scissors-style power relationships. But then medieval alchemists meddled with those systems by introducing mercury, sulfur, and salt. Just great, Mr. von Hohenheim. Just when you think nobody would want to complicate it further. Oh boy, what have you done? This escalation clearly demonstrates that when engaging in world building, more complexity doesn't necessarily equate to richer engagement. After all, who's going to take a periodic table quiz for fun? Oh, that's actually accurate. So physics is flawed. How's biology looking? Again, it's intricate, yet there's clearly a lack of coherence regarding what is included or excluded based on realism. Critics rightfully point out the absurdity that mythical creatures like unicorns don't exist, while bizarre creatures like giraffes and horse-moose hybrids with 40-foot necks are commonplace, eating bones, no less. Moreover, numerous turkeys can reproduce on their own, butterflies taste with their feet, and some sea turtles can exhale from their behinds. All this, and no dragons. It feels quite arbitrary. And then there's the question of who reigns supreme in the ocean. Spoiler alert, it's humans. Billions of these quirky beings, with all their various appearances, share some impractical traits: wisdom teeth, appendices that need removal, goosebumps because they still think they have fur, and they even have little fleshy corners in their eyes from the imagined presence of third eyelids. They can't even hold their nose and hum at the same time. Is that real? Absolutely. How did they come to dominate a planet filled with lions, crocodiles, and other ferocious creatures? Ah, but humans are clever, right? They also harbor greed, pollution concerns, and the shake weight. I could go on, but let's tackle something fundamental like currency. In many fictional universes, items tend to have intrinsic value due to their material worth. Think rare minerals or mythical substances. However, in the latest iterations of Earth, value becomes more abstract, often tied to the hypothetical worth of paper or digital numbers. This leads to scenarios where characters endure hardships, starve, or engage in horrible acts over something that's purely theoretical. That feels excessively bleak. Speaking of food and despair, let's not overlook those artificial horrors. Meet Mentha specta. This natural plant produces an unpleasant chemical to deter animals, yet humans embrace it, using it in food, tea, and toothpaste due to its invigorating flavor. They even cultivate peppers for maximum heat, seemingly drawn to the chemical irritant known as capsaicin. Perhaps this penchant for discomfort explains their rise to the top. This calls for a pause. Earth does score some points there, but what about geography? In world building, a coherent map often indicates a consistent world, yet Earth's geography is notoriously erratic. The issue stems from Earth's shape. Converting a globe into a flat map inevitably distorts scale, a fact that can be demonstrated through various country size comparisons. For instance, is Australia really that small? And Greenland is actually what? Don't even get me started on tiny Liechtenstein. So, is it utterly impossible to create an accurate map? Just take the globe's edges and try to connect them carefully. Oh, wait, how about place names? Some of them seem quite ridiculous. Take the River Avon in the UK. The common theory suggests that when Romans invaded and inquired about the river, the Celts simply answered with Avon, which translates to river in Celtic. Yet, the Romans documented it without realizing their misunderstanding. Beyond naming conventions, Earth's linguistic structure also appears disorganized. A well-constructed fictional language, or conlang, should maintain reasonable consistency for clarity. However, in English, as I've observed while scripting this video, rules seem largely arbitrary. Take the English language, which has its own bizarre spelling quirks. For instance, friends includes the I before the E, unless following a C, unless your international neighbor named Keith receives a strange shipment of counterfeit sleighs. And then there's this curious latitudinal disparity. Why can writers write and painters paint, but fingers don't finger? Why don't hammers ham or dumpsters dumpst? Perhaps learning Klingon might be more beneficial. That said, there are more points taken off for both linguistic structure and geography. How about music? Earth undeniably boasts a fantastic soundtrack. It's hard to pick favorites. Cuneiform classics such as the Hurry and Hymn are impressive, tree frogs and waterfall sounds are lovely, and who could forget the masterpieces from Hieronymus Bosch or Jimi Hendrix? However, the real grievance lies in the instruments themselves. I've even got a replica of an in-world string instrument, and it pales relative to a true Hendrix sound. Apparently, mastering an earth instrument demands considerable time and emotional investment, which might be true for most meaningful artistic endeavors. Each requires emotional vulnerability, something I could do without. Now let's discuss the storyline. I skimmed over much of the plot in a library, and wow, this narrative could really benefit from some editing. First of all, the timeline is just excessively long. Hundreds of millions of years dominated by dinosaurs. Ridiculous! T-Rex and Stegosaurus had a more significant time gap between them than we do with modern humans, which is absurd. The timeline only gets messier. Sharks were allegedly wiped out by a snake, yet they remain. Additionally, they predate the formation of Saturn's rings and even the existence of one of the Polaris system's stars. Yes, older than the birth of an actual star. I get that sharks contribute to captivating world building, but that's overboard. Cleopatra lived closer to the moon landing than the pyramids, and certain Appalachian mountains outdate bone evolution. This confusing timeline dampens any potential emotional investment in particular characters. Tycho Brahe stands out as a character worth following. He gained fame as an astronomer, lost his nose in a duel, owned 1% of Denmark's wealth, had a pet moose that met an unfortunate end, and died peacefully. Just kidding, his death may have been a murder. However, the fact remains that Earth's plot stretches over 5 billion years. The fleeting nature of life emerges as a recurring theme that renders caring for any character a tragic endeavor. Now, glass sponges seem to have life figured out. Beyond the cosmic unfairness of the human experience, Earth's narrative fails to deliver upon the expectation of plausibility. Frogs supposedly rained down at one point. A bear named Wojtek served in World War II and received a promotion to corporal. A lost nuclear bomb incident in the US is mind-blowing. A dog even played in the NBA, and this bizarre artifact was sold to humans. Transitioning to technology, Earth showcases a plethora of inventions, many of which appear to evoke nightmares. Following the complex nature of this project, even mundane objects possess absurd amounts of lore. While elaboration can be beneficial, it can also lead to unnecessary complications when it comes to explaining something as simple as bubblegum. Humans are credited with many inventions, though dolphins devised the printing press without acknowledgement. Humans have progressed up the tech tree, from masonry to the internet, yielding significant milestones like gunpowder, but also creating double-edged nightmares like leaded gasoline and microplastics. Beyond this, there's unsuspected potential for dire consequences in many inventions. A robot apocalypse, climate collapse, nuclear disaster, and genetic engineering conundrums loom ever closer. There's just too much foreshadowing happening. Given all these possibilities, alongside the intrinsic nature of human mortality, it seems implausible that this species could function mentally whatsoever. According to claims, humans have a philosophical coping mechanism known as anthropocentrism, a belief that humans reign supreme, are distinct from nature, and beyond any ecological interconnectedness. There's probably some merit to that outlook, admittedly. Various forms of essentialism propose that every entity holds inherent qualities that define their identity, allowing for easier categorization. However, just asserting that someone can be neatly defined might be misguided, as it fails to encompass the significant nuance of existence. If essentialism doesn't sit well with you, but you'd like less ambiguity, empiricism offers an alternative. This method relies on research and human perception to uncover the universe's nature. However, human senses are wildly unpredictable, capable of distorting truth through optical illusions, which begs the question: if humans cannot trust their sensory perceptions, what if every decision they've ever made was out of their control? Determinism, a rather bleak philosophy, suggests that every choice is a product of prior events, leaving little room for free will. This line of thought frequently melds into nihilism, positing that life lacks intrinsic value. Consequently, humans are often confronted with limited options: embrace existentialism and craft their purpose, or lean towards absurdism where nothing really matters. The recognition of life's inherent difficulties often yields little net consolation, even in the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, which focuses on enduring life's hardships rather than alleviating them. Initially, I suspected that perhaps the oversight stemmed from a lack of a prescriptive philosophy capable of solving everything. On second thought, it may be an unavoidable outcome of simply being human. Within this narrative, experiencing pain is part of reality, with moments of seeking insight occasionally offering solace. Still, it remains true that life carries inherent burdens. No matter one's philosophical stance, living in this world equates to experiencing sorrow. Thank goodness Earth is entirely fictional. Let's lighten the mood with silly ethical dilemmas. The classic trolley problem, for example, illustrates operational choice. 5 individuals are tied down to one track while one is on another. You, with a lever, can choose which track will meet the train. This conundrum, however, overlooks the much larger concern of who tied everyone to the tracks in the first place. Plato's Cave also presents an engaging philosophical quandary, where individuals are trapped watching shadows on the wall instead of the real world. The solution seems straightforward. Just exit the cave. Wow, ethics can look easy. Of course, paradoxes arise, revealing the ease with which one may flout Earth's rules. A paradox can be simplistic but striking, as in this statement is false, or more complex like the barber paradox. A barber who only shaves those who do not shave themselves. Does he shave himself? He either does or doesn't, leading to a contradictory conclusion. This reality feels convoluted Earth is an intricate web of disillusionment, and I'm canceling this project. While I could wrap up my argument here, I do have some miscellaneous grievances. First, there's the mystery of disappearing socks in the laundry. No explanations. Creatures once blamed for this phenomenon have been removed from the narrative. As for yearly holidays, like April Fool's Day, the prank's shock value diminishes when it's known in advance. If someone truly wanted to catch people off guard, they could post a prank video months later on a completely arbitrary date. And considering dragons, in a world teeming with fantastical beings, how on earth are none included? If the writers decide to introduce them, it seems they'd likely hide in what I'll call Earth's out-of-bounds territory, the deep ocean. This area hosts bizarre organisms that mysteriously pop up, casting doubt on their sudden appearances. I've figured it out. This project is on shaky ground, and I'm claiming my triumph. Yet, I must confess my biggest quandary with Earth is this gnawing sensation that I'll never fully grasp it, though it shouldn't concern me, given its confusing and convoluted nature. I often find myself puzzled by fundamental concepts, such as determining one's life direction or understanding how anyone manages to find moments to iron while surrounded by billions of others. Although I strive to evaluate Earth fairly, I still catch myself pondering if there's some obvious insight I'm missing, something everyone else comprehends. I genuinely want to appreciate this project. It holds potential. Perhaps I should keep searching for meaning. Maybe, just maybe, amongst the chaos, lies something valuable in this world, like this, whoa, that's genuinely compelling. I'm not sure the worth of it yet, but there's definitely something there. I'm still uncertain, but I'd encourage you to follow and subscribe. I don't quite know how to transition this into content, but your support matters immensely. Until next time.